Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. My name is Kayla, I am 29, and I grabbed the wrong hill. I shoved through the venue doors with my garment bag swinging. The coordinator blocked me with a clipboard and a stare. "You cannot come in here like that." Her hand hit my shoulder. My pulse spiked because the ceremony music already started. I tried to slide past her anyway like a jerk. The zipper snagged and I yanked it too hard. The bag tore at the seam and the dress edge flashed out. Her eyes dropped to the fabric and her mouth tightened. That tiny look told me I was about to get wrecked. "I'm with the groom," I pointed toward the aisle. She didn't move, she just leaned closer. "Then why are you wearing that color?" She whispered it like a threat. I opened my mouth and nothing came out at first. Have you ever felt your brain hit a wall? I pushed the dress back into the bag fast. "Relax," my voice sounded fake even to me. "It's not white." I tried to laugh and it died. Her gaze stayed locked on me like a warning sign. Behind her I saw guests turning curious and sharp. Someone brushed past us and bumped my elbow. The bag shifted and the dress slipped again. A bridesmaid saw the shimmer and blinked hard. Her smile vanished, then popped back on like a mask. She hurried away with her phone already up. I told myself it was fine and I believed it. I had checked the tag and it said gold. I kept repeating that like it was evidence. The coordinator's lips pressed together, then she waved me through. Her eyes followed me like she expected a crash. I moved down the side aisle, shoulders tight. A groomsman stepped out and grabbed my wrist. "What are you doing?" His grip was firm and hot. "I'm trying not to miss it." I pulled once and failed. He looked past me, then looked scared. He leaned in and lowered his voice. "Aaron is already keyed up." His jaw worked hard. "Do not get near her dress." He didn't blink. That last part landed weird because it sounded rehearsed. Why would anyone say that before vows? I swallowed and nodded like I understood. I did not understand, not even a little. I tried to step away and he blocked again. "Promise me." He jabbed a finger at my bag. My chest tightened because he was acting like I had a weapon. "I promise." I meant it, I really did. He released me and I nearly stumbled forward. The ceremony words drifted over and I caught Jake's voice. That made my throat pinch because this was his moment. So why was everyone staring at my clothes? I hugged the bag tighter and slid into a back row. A woman next to me glanced down, then away fast. She clutched her purse like I might spill something on her. I wanted to sink into the floor, honestly. Then Erin turned slightly, and her eyes found mine. She didn't look angry at first, just stunned. Her smile stayed up, but her eyes went flat. She lifted one hand and made a tiny shoe motion. Not big enough for anyone else to notice. Big enough that my stomach dropped anyway. I mouthed "what?" and she shook her head once. Then she mouthed 3 words without sound. "Keep it away." I froze with the bag against my knees. Keep what away if it was just a dress? The officiant asked everyone to sit, and I stayed rigid. A bridesmaid slipped into the row ahead, blocking my view. She didn't look back, but her shoulders went tense. I stared at the back of her neck, trying to breathe. That was when my phone buzzed with a new text. My phone buzzed again and I flinched. A bridesmaid texted, "Stay seated, do not touch Aaron." I stared at that line until my vision tightened. People do not send that unless something already happened. So I tucked my hands under my thighs and waited. The ceremony ended and chairs scraped back fast. I stood with everyone else and kept my bag behind me. Jake turned and scanned the crowd like he was counting exits. When his eyes hit me, he smiled, then it slipped. That tiny crack scared me more than a glare. The coordinator swooped in and hooked my elbow. "Photos are next, you are not in the first set." I tried to protest and she shook her head once. Her grip stayed polite, but it was not optional. She parked me near the back like a spill hazard. Erin approached with Jake and a camera crew of relatives. Her dress looked perfect from where I stood. She kept her chin high and her fingers curled tight. When she saw my bag, her pupils jumped. She pressed a smile harder and walked faster. A bridesmaid cut between us like a blocker. She held one hand out toward my bag without touching it. "Please," her voice sounded thin and careful. Put it somewhere else, her eyes begged for compliance. I nodded because I did not want a scene. I turned to stash the bag behind a row of chairs. The zipper caught again, and I muttered under my breath. My hand slipped and the fabric slid out for a second. Someone behind me inhaled like they saw a knife. I shoved it back and my face burned. Photos started and people packed in clothes. I tried to angle my body away from Aaron. Then Aaron stepped backward without looking and bumped my hip. My bag swung forward and brushed her bodice. It was the softest contact, and it wrecked everything. A dark smear appeared on her white like a thumbprint. At first I thought it was makeup transfer from me. Then the mark spread as she shifted, like dust dragged. Erin's breath hitched and her smile snapped shut. The photographer kept talking and did not notice yet. Erin lifted her bouquet to cover the spot. Her knuckles went bright as she squeezed. Jake leaned toward her with a worried tilt. Erin shook her head fast, still smiling for the lens. That fake calm made my stomach drop. I reached toward her out of reflex, trying to help. A bridesmaid slapped my wrist down with 2 fingers. Do not, she did not raise her voice. Her eyes were furious and also scared. I pulled my hand back like I touched a stove. Erin's fingers fluttered at her neckline, then stopped. A second black streak showed up where she pinched the fabric. She stared at her own hand for a beat too long. It looked like she had touched ash. Her lips parted and no sound came out. Jake finally saw it and his face shifted. He leaned closer and Erin angled away from him. That was not a normal newlywed move. Jake's gaze flicked to me, then to my bag. His jaw set like he made a decision. Erin stepped out of the photo line with a tight laugh. She waved toward the hallway like she needed air. A bridesmaid moved with her, fast and trained. Erin did not look back at Jake once. That alone felt like a confession. I stared at my fingers and noticed fine dark grit. It sat in the lines of my skin like it belonged there. I rubbed it on my thumb and it smudged easy. Not sticky like makeup, more like crushed dust. My mouth went dry because none of that was mine. The coordinator appeared again at my side. You need to stay right here, her voice went low. I tried to step around her, and she blocked with her body. Her eyes cut to my bag like it was radioactive. She whispered, "You already did enough." Jake broke from his relatives and walked toward me. He moved quick and stiff, not happy groom quick. Before he reached me, Erin's maid of honor snapped her fingers. She pointed toward the restroom hallway, urgent and sharp. Jake hesitated, then turned away from me. That choice hit me like a slap. He picked Erin over me without even a question. I wanted to be mad, but I also understood it. If you see black streaks on your bride, you protect her. Still, I stood there alone with dirty hands. I tried to wipe my fingers on my dress lining. The black powder smeared and made it worse. My bag felt heavier now, like it carried blame. A guest glanced over and whispered to another guest. Their eyes landed on me and stayed there. The bridesmaid who texted me earlier walked up slow. She held her phone out toward my face. On the screen was a photo from 10 minutes ago. It showed Erin adjusting her bodice before the ceremony. A dark patch sat under the fabric like it was waiting. She lowered the phone and stared at me. This was there before you arrived, her voice shook. I felt relief for half a second, then guilt took its place. Because if it was already there, why was it still there? And why did my dress make it show? I pushed into the hallway before anyone could stop me. The maid of honor snapped her fingers at my chest. Do not follow her, she stepped in my path. I kept moving anyway because my hands still felt dirty. She grabbed my forearm and squeezed like a warning. I'm not trying to hurt her, my voice cracked on the last word. Her eyes flicked to my fingertips, then back to my face. Then stop making it worse, that landed like a slap. I slid my arm free and walked faster. My heel caught on the edge of a runner and I staggered. 2 guests stared like I was about to steal something. I held my palms up and kept going because pride is dumb. The restroom door swung shut just ahead of me. I yanked it open and the sound hit hard. Erin was at the sink with her head down. She scrubbed at her neckline with both hands, frantic. Dark sludge streaked along the porcelain as she rubbed. It looked like grime mixed with water and panic. Erin's shoulders jerked as she breathed through her teeth. She glanced up and her eyes went sharp with fear. Get out, her voice was low and clipped. I didn't move because I felt blamed already. I need to understand what I touched. I held up my fingers. The black residue sat there like proof I never asked for. Erin flinched at the sight and reached for soap. She pumped it twice, then scrubbed harder. The foam turned gray fast and slid down her wrists. She shook her head like she could shake reality loose. The maid of honor slipped in behind me and locked the door. That click made my chest tighten like I was trapped. Say nothing, she pointed at my mouth. Erin shot her low. Okay, that begged and threatened at once. I leaned closer to the sink without touching anything. Is that from me? I hated how defensive I sounded. Erin barked a laugh that had zero humor. You think you're the only problem today, her eyes glistened anyway. She rinsed and the dark film kept clinging. I watched it cling to her skin like it wanted to stay. Erin squeezed her hands into fists, then opened them again. Her nails were clean but her palms were stained. Talk to me, I heard myself say it too firm. Erin's jaw trembled and she looked away. It's charcoal, the word came out like a confession. My brain tripped over that because who uses charcoal here? The maid of honor shifted closer to Erin. Her hand hovered near Erin's elbow, ready to steady her. Stop, she aimed the word at me this time. I ignored it because I could not unsee that smear. Erin leaned toward the mirror and checked her chest. She rubbed at one spot, then winced like it hurt. A faint patch of cleaner skin flashed under the stain. It was shaped like something used to sit there. I pointed before I could stop myself. What was on your skin? My voice dropped. Erin's eyes snapped to my finger and she swatted it away. Nothing, she said it too fast and that told me everything. She grabbed a paper towel and pressed it to her collarbone. The towel came away dark, then darker. Erin stared at it like she hated it for existing. Her breath went shallow and her shoulders started to shake. I didn't plan this, Erin's words tumbled out messy. I didn't think it would transfer, she scrubbed again harder. The maid of honor muttered, I told you, her mouth went tight. That one line proved this was not random. I took a step back and hit the door with my shoulder. The locked door made a hollow thump behind me. Why were you wearing charcoal? I asked and I regretted it. Erin's eyes flashed like I accused her of cheating. It's makeup, she wiped under her chin, rough and quick. It sets better, she said it like a script line. My stomach flipped because she was selling me something. Have you ever heard a lie that sounded practiced? The maid of honor leaned into my space. You are not part of this, her finger jabbed my chest. I held my ground and my voice went cold. I became part of it when it stained her gown. Erin made a sharp noise and turned on me. Lower your voice, her eyes darted to the door. Do you want them to hear? She meant everyone outside. I swallowed my anger because she was right about that. She rinsed again and lifted her left hand to inspect it. Water ran over her fingers and cleared the dark film. For 1 second I saw a pale band on her ring finger. Not jewelry, just a clean stripe that should not be there. Erin saw my eyes lock onto it and snapped her hand down. She clenched it tight against her waist. The maid of honor shifted between us like a shield. Erin's voice dropped to a whisper that shook, don't look there. I stared at her fist and felt my face heat. I should have looked away, but my brain refused. That pale stripe screamed one thing, and I hated that thought. Erin's breath hitched like she knew exactly what I was thinking. What is that? I asked and it came out raw. Erin opened her mouth, then shut it hard. The maid of honor shook her head at Erin, warning her. Erin stared at the sink like it could answer for her. It's old, Erin finally forced the words out. I wore a ring before, her voice quivered on before. I blinked because that sounded almost normal, almost harmless. Then she added, Jake cannot know I ever had it. That sentence made no sense to me. Jake was not the jealous type, not like that. Still, Erin's panic looked real and ugly. And honestly, panic like that has a reason. The maid of honor pressed a hand to Erin's back. Breathe, she guided Erin like a handler. Erin nodded once and inhaled, then exhaled on a shake. I watched her like a stranger because she felt new now. I tried to soften my tone, but it came out wrong. Why hide it? I asked, and I hated how nosy it sounded. Aaron's eyes shot up and locked on mine. Because he'll ask questions, her words came fast and clipped. Questions about what? My voice stayed low. Aaron's throat bobbed like she swallowed something sharp. She rubbed the pale stripe with her thumb, desperate. A faint gray shadow spread over it again. So that was it. The coal was not for the gown at all. It was for her hand, her finger, her story. And my so-called gold outfit had dragged it into daylight. Aaron stepped close and grabbed my wrists. Her hands were damp and trembling, and I hated that I noticed. Please, her voice cracked and her eyes went wet. Tell them it was your dress and nothing else. The maid of honor nodded hard like that was the plan. Take the blame, she said it like a command. I pulled my wrists free slowly and stared at both of them. Do you know how it feels to be drafted as the villain? I shook my head then stopped halfway. Because I could already hear the whispers outside. Because I could already see Jake's face if this spread. And because Aaron looked like she might collapse. I didn't mean to, I said it, which sounded pathetic. Aaron flinched like I struck her with words. You did it anyway, she wiped under her eyes with the heel of her hand. That smear left a gray streak near her cheek. The maid of honor reached into a small pouch near the sink. She pulled out a little tin and slid it behind her back. I saw the label for a split second and it said coal powder. My throat went dry because that was not normal makeup. Aaron tracked my eyes and froze. Don't, she whispered the word like a plea and a threat. I lifted my hands in surrender, palms open. I'm not your enemy, I said it and I almost believed it. Aaron leaned in closer until I could hear her breath. Jake thinks I'm clean, her words came out brittle. He thinks I have no past, she stared like she dared me to argue. I felt my brain stall because nobody has no past. The maid of honor hissed through her teeth. Stop talking, she aimed it at Aaron. Aaron ignored her and kept her eyes on me. If he finds out, her mouth trembled on out. I waited for her to finish, but she did not. She just shook her head like the rest was too dangerous. The silence felt louder than the reception outside. Then someone pounded on the door and Aaron jumped. The pounding hit the door again and Aaron jerked back. The maid of honor lifted a finger, telling me to stay quiet. Aaron pressed both hands to her chest like she could hold it together. A muffled voice called her name from the hallway. It was Jake and he sounded scared. Aaron grabbed my sleeve and yanked me closer. Her grip was wet and shaky and it made my skin crawl. Tell him you bumped me, her eyes begged without blinking. I pulled my arm away and swallowed hard. Because lying felt easy and that scared me. The maid of honor slid the bolt halfway, still blocking the crack. Give her a minute, her tone stayed sweet and deadly. Jake's shadow shifted under the door like he paced. I need to see her, his voice tightened on need. Aaron's breath started coming in fast bursts. I stepped forward and the maid of honor planted her palm on my chest. Back up, she mouthed it more than voiced it. I stared at her hand, then at Aaron's clenched fist. That pale band flashed again near Aaron's thumb. I could not unsee it now. Open the door, I kept my voice low. The maid of honor shook her head hard. Aaron's eyes darted between us like she expected a fight. The sink water kept running, steady and loud. It sounded like a countdown. Jake knocked again, softer this time. Aaron, his voice dipped like he was pleading. Aaron flinched at her own name and pressed into the counter edge. I hated her in that second, then hated myself for it. Because fear like that does not come from a smudge. I reached for the lock and the maid of honor snapped her wrist out. She caught my fingers and twisted, not enough to injure. Do not, her eyes went flat. I yanked free and my hand stung. Anger finally showed up and it was ugly. Jake deserves facts, I pointed at the dark foam in the basin. Aaron's face pinched like I slapped her. You don't know anything, her voice cracked on anything. I nodded once because she was right. Then I said, so tell me before he hears it elsewhere. Aaron stared at my dress like it offended her. She took one step closer and lowered her chin. I covered it, her words came out thin. Just the mark, she flicked her gaze to her left hand. My mouth went dry again. The maid of honor leaned over Aaron's shoulder, whispering fast. Aaron shook her head like she refused the advice. Then Aaron looked straight at me and spoke clearer. I used kohl powder because it matches my skin. That explanation felt too neat. I lifted my stained fingertips as proof. If it's cosmetic, then why hide the tin? The maid of honor stiffened like she forgot I saw it. Erin's eyes flashed, then softened into panic. Her silence answered louder than words. Jake's voice rose outside, sharper now. Open the door or I'm getting staff. The maid of honor rolled her eyes and Erin winced. I watched Erin's throat work like she swallowed pain. Then Erin whispered, he thinks I'm untouched. That word hit me wrong and I felt cold. Not because of purity talk, but because it sounded like a story. Like she sold him a version of herself with empty pages. I leaned closer and asked, untouched by what? Erin's gaze slid away again. She rubbed her ring finger hard, trying to erase the clean stripe. The gray film started to creep back over it. Erin watched it happen and her mouth trembled. I can't have any trace, her voice shook on trace. The maid of honor nodded like that was the whole mission. I heard footsteps outside, then a new voice joined Jake. The coordinator spoke low, businesslike, then stopped. The maid of honor muttered, great, her jaw flexed. Erin backed toward the stall door like she wanted a hiding place. I realized this could blow up right now. I moved fast and unlocked the door before anyone stopped me. The maid of honor lunged, then froze too late. The door swung open and Jake stood there with the coordinator. His eyes jumped from Erin's face to the stained sink. He looked like someone kicked his lungs. Erin pasted on a smile that did not reach her eyes. Jake stepped inside and reached for her hand. Erin tucked her left hand behind her back like a reflex. Jake noticed and his eyebrows pulled together. That tiny movement changed the room. What happened? Jake's voice came out clipped. Erin lifted her chin, still hiding her hand. She bumped me. Erin tipped her head toward me. The maid of honor nodded hard like a backup singer. Jake stared at me like he wanted to believe her. I held up my palms and did not step back. It brushed her dress, my voice stayed steady barely. But the dark stuff was already there. I glanced at Erin's hand. Jake followed my eyes and Erin's shoulders tightened. Jake reached again, slower. Erin jerked away and the motion made the powder shed. A faint dark dust drifted off her wrist and onto the tile. Jake blinked like his brain refused it. The coordinator sucked in a breath and looked away. Nobody moved for a beat. Jake crouched and rubbed the dust between two fingers. It smeared matte and left a dark streak on his skin. He stared at it, then at Erin, then back down. Why is there soot? His voice went flat. Erin's smile died right there. It's setting powder. Erin lifted her right hand like a pledge. Her left stayed hidden behind her hip. Jake stood and reached behind her, gentle but firm. Show me, his eyes held on hers. Erin's pupils jumped like a cornered animal. The maid of honor stepped between them and raised both hands. Not now, her voice pushed at Jake like a wall. Jake did not even look at her. He angled around her and held out his palm to Erin. The silence got heavy. Erin slowly brought her left hand forward. Her ring finger showed the pale stripe still visible. Jake's face shifted in real time, confusion then suspicion. He traced the air near it, not touching yet. You told me you never wore one. Erin snapped her hand back like it burned. I meant here, she gestured at the venue like that mattered. Jake's mouth opened then closed. The coordinator took a step back toward the hall. She wanted no part of this. Jake turned to me and his eyes looked raw. You knew, the words landed like blame. I shook my head fast and my voice wobbled. I found out 10 minutes ago. I held up my stained fingers. That's all I've got. Erin's breath started hitching again, faster now. Her hands fluttered near her chest, then stopped. She looked at Jake and her face twisted with something like shame. Then she looked past him toward the crowd outside. Like she was checking who could hear. Jake lowered his voice and leaned in close. Tell me the real reason. His hand hovered near her wrist. Erin's eyes filled and she blinked hard. I just needed it hidden. Her words came out broken. Jake's shoulders went rigid. He stepped back and pressed his palm to his forehead. The dark smear marked his skin like a stamp. I watched him see it in his mind, whatever it meant. Erin took a half step toward him then stopped. Like she feared his touch now. The maid of honor snapped into action and pointed at me. Go, her fingers shook but her tone stayed firm. Jake lifted his head and looked between us. Stay, his voice held me in place. I froze, caught between orders. Aaron whispered please, and it sounded like a crack. Jake flinched at that single word like it hurt him. He turned to the coordinator and jerked his head toward the door. Give us space, his voice was tight and sharp. The coordinator left fast and the hallway noise surged. Aaron backed into the stall door and gripped the metal edge. Jake stood still, eyes locked on her left hand. I stayed near the sink, feeling like a witness nobody wanted. Jake finally spoke again, quieter now. Is there someone else? Aaron's mouth opened and nothing came out. The maid of honor closed her eyes like she was counting. Aaron shook her head fast, then paused mid-shake. That pause told on her more than a confession. Jake saw it too. He looked at me again, and his voice went low. Did you bring this? He glanced at my dress like it was evidence. I almost laughed because it was so unfair. Then I remembered I walked in wearing it anyway. So I just said I didn't know it would do this. Jake let out a short breath through his nose. He stared at Aaron like he was trying to solve her face. Aaron pressed her lips together, then whispered, not here. Jake's eyes flicked toward the door and narrowed. He nodded like he agreed to delay the explosion. He pointed at the sink with a small motion. Wash it off, his voice sounded controlled and thin. Aaron moved like a robot and scrubbed her hand again. The coal ran off but the pale stripe stayed. Jake watched that stripe like it mocked him. Someone called Jake's name from the hallway. A woman's voice, older and firm, cut through the noise. Jake tensed, then looked toward the door. The maid of honor stiffened like she recognized it. Aaron's face went blank like a switch flipped. The door swung open and a woman stepped inside. She scanned the room fast, then her eyes fixed on Aaron. Marissa, she said the name like she owned it. Aaron went still, and the maid of honor inhaled hard. Jake turned toward Aaron slow, like he was seeing her for the first time. The older woman shoved past Jake and pointed at Aaron's face. Marissa, her voice cut clean through the room. Aaron's shoulders snapped stiff like she got tased. The maid of honor stepped forward, then thought better of it. Jake lifted a hand like he could pause time. Who are you? His eyes stayed on the woman. She held up a thick envelope and tapped it twice. Someone who got tired of being ignored. Then she stared at Aaron. Aaron tried to laugh but it came out jagged. That's not my name, she lifted her chin, too proud. The woman didn't blink, not even once. It is when the court says it is. The envelope opened. Paper slid out and the woman raised it like a shield. I saw stamps, signatures, and a case number. I'm not a lawyer, but even I recognized official weight. Jake's mouth opened, then shut like his throat locked. Aaron stepped sideways toward the hallway like a dancer. Jake shifted with her, blocking without touching. The maid of honor's eyes flicked to the exit, calculating. The woman tracked Aaron's feet, and her smile went cold. Put that away, Aaron's voice sounded thin and sharp. The woman shook the pages once, making them flutter. Tell him you're still married, she said it like a dare. Aaron flinched, and that flinch told the room everything. Jake's face drained, then flushed hard. Married, he said the word like it tasted wrong. Aaron lifted both hands, palms out, acting innocent. It's complicated, she tried a soothing tone that landed flat. The woman stepped closer and angled the papers toward Jake. Here, she offered them firm and steady. Jake took them with shaking fingers and stared at the header. His eyes moved line by line and his breathing changed. I watched Jake's thumb smear the dark residue on the page edge. That stupid little stain made me feel filthy. Because my outfit started this chain, even if by accident. Jake swallowed hard and looked up, eyes bright with shock. Aaron reached for his wrist and stopped mid-reach. She pulled back like his skin would burn her. I was going to tell you after, her voice cracked on after. Jake's laugh came out short and it sounded like pain. The maid of honor finally moved and grabbed Aaron's elbow. Breathe, she guided Aaron like a handler again. Aaron jerked free and back toward the stall door. Her gaze pinged between all of us, trapped and wild. The older woman pointed at Aaron's left hand. Show him, her finger hovered like a blade. Erin clenched her fist behind her hip, hiding that ring mark. Jake noticed the motion and his eyes narrowed fast. Give me your hand. Jake held his palm out steady. Erin shook her head once, quick and desperate. The maid of honor whispered something too soft to catch. Erin's jaw worked, then she pushed her hand forward anyway. That clean band stood out like a confession. Jake stared at it, then at the black dust along her wrist. His voice went quiet, almost gentle. So that's why you smeared that stuff. Erin's lips trembled. It's not what you think, Erin blurted too fast. Jake tilted his head, still calm, and that scared me. Then tell me what to think. His eyes did not soften. Erin opened her mouth and nothing came out. The older woman slid another page forward and tapped a line. Active spouse, she tapped again like punctuation. Erin's face went slack for a second, like a mask slipped. The maid of honor inhaled hard and her shoulders sagged. Erin snapped back into motion and lunged for the door. She shoved past me, shoulder clipping my arm. I stumbled and caught myself on the counter edge. Jake moved fast and blocked her path with one step. Don't. Jake didn't raise his voice, but it carried. Erin froze mid-stride and her eyes flashed with fury. Move. She shoved his chest with both hands. Jake didn't budge, and that's when she looked scared. The hallway noise surged as people noticed the tension. A few faces appeared at the open doorway, curious and hungry. The coordinator hovered behind them, eyes wide and panicked. Erin saw the crowd and her breath turned ragged. The older woman lifted her phone and aimed it at Erin. Try to run, S. He sounded almost bored. Erin's gaze locked on the phone, then flicked to me. For a second she looked like she wanted me to save her. I didn't move, and I hate that I didn't move. Not because I wanted her punished, but because I felt used. She tried to draft me as the villain earlier, remember? Now her eyes begged and my stomach twisted anyway. Jake lowered the papers and rubbed his forehead. The black smear marked his skin like a stamp of shame. He looked at Erin's hand again, then looked away. I married a stranger. His voice went flat and the room went silent. Erin shook her head hard, tears spilling now. I had to. She pressed a hand to her chest. The maid of honor murmured stop, like she knew it was over. The older woman stepped forward again, unwavering. You had options. The older woman's voice stayed level. Annulment, postponing, telling the truth. She counted on her fingers. Erin flinched at each finger like it struck her. Jake's eyes squeezed shut and his jaw flexed tight. A groomsman appeared in the doorway and raised both hands. Do we call the police? His voice shook with adrenaline. Erin's head snapped toward him, furious and cornered. Jake didn't answer right away, and that pause felt endless. Jake finally looked at Erin and spoke low. Give me your phone. His palm held out again. Erin clutched it tighter and took a step back. Jake nodded once like he expected that, and turned to me. Did you see what she used? His eyes darted to my stained fingers. I held my hands up, embarrassed and angry at once. I saw a tin by the sink. I swallowed, then added, it said coal. Erin's face tightened like she wanted to scream. The older woman snapped her fingers toward me. You, she looked me up and down like she was measuring risk. Tell him about the ring mark in the cover. Her tone stayed firm. I felt my chest tighten because I was now a witness. Jake stared at me waiting, and I hated that spotlight. I didn't know what it meant at first. My voice came out rough. But she begged me to take the blame. I pointed at my dress bag. Erin's shoulders slumped, and the maid of honor looked away. Jake's eyes went glassy, then sharp again. He turned to Erin and asked one question, calm and brutal. Is your husband alive? Erin's lips parted, then pressed tight. The older woman answered for her, voice clipped. He's alive. She held the papers higher. And he's been looking for her. The word her landed hard. Erin made a choked sound and covered her mouth. Jake's shoulders dropped like something inside him broke. Erin tried one last angle and reached for Jake's hand. He stepped back, quick, like her touch would stain him. That rejection hit her like a shove and she blinked fast. Then she turned and looked straight at me, shaking. I didn't want to hurt him. Her voice cracked into a sob. I wanted to believe her, and I hated that part of me. Because the lying was not small, it was built in layers. And the coal was just the top layer that slipped. Jake exhaled slow and pointed toward the hallway. Everyone out, his voice was steady but empty. The coordinator started herding people like cats, frantic and red-faced. The groomsmen kept watching Erin like she might bolt again. The older woman stepped closer to Jake and lowered the papers. "You can annul this," her voice softened just a little. Jake stared at the floor, then nodded once. Erin's knees buckled and she grabbed the stall door handle. The maid of honor crouched beside Erin, whispering fast. Erin shook her head and shoved her away. "I did this for us," Erin snapped, then broke into tears again. Jake flinched at us like the word "us" was poison. I backed toward the wall, trying to make myself smaller. My dress bag bumped my leg and I nearly cursed it out loud. All I could think was how stupid this started. A dress label, a brush of fabric, a collapse. Jake looked at me again, eyes tired and raw. "I need you to tell the truth," he kept his voice quiet. "I don't care how bad it makes today look," he swallowed hard. I nodded even though my stomach rolled. Erin lifted her head and stared at me with hate. After everything, her voice shook with rage and fear. I wanted to clap back, I really did. Instead I whispered, "You asked me to lie for you," and she went still. The older woman raised her phone again and spoke into it. "Hi," she turned slightly away, focused and calm. "Yes, I found her." Erin's whole body tensed at that. Jake closed his eyes for 1 second, then opened them cold. A few minutes later, voices sounded down the hall, heavier and official. Erin started shaking harder and pressed her hands against her face. The maid of honor backed away like she finally gave up. Jake stood near the door, shoulders squared, blocking escape. I watched Erin's clean ring band fade as the black powder smeared again. Even in that chaos, her hand kept trying to hide it. That detail stuck with me more than the papers, because it showed me her real priority right to the end. When the officers stepped in, Erin tried one last step toward me. Her hand reached out like she wanted a lifeline. I stepped back and I hate how fast I did it. Her fingers closed on air and her face crumpled. Jake didn't cry in front of everyone, not once. He just stared at the floor while they spoke to Erin. His wedding suit looked wrong now, like a costume. He looked up at me again and his voice went small. "Did I miss signs?" he asked it like a kid. I swallowed and shook my head because what else could I do? Then I told him the only honest thing I had. I was focused on my own mess, and that felt like a punch. Later, when the room cleared, Jake sat with the papers in his lap. I hovered nearby, useless, still stained at the fingertips. He looked at my dress bag and gave a bitter half smile. All this from a gold dress, his eyes closed and mine filled. I left the venue with my hands wrapped in paper towels. I kept thinking about Erin's grip on my sleeve in that restroom. About the way she begged, then blamed, then begged again. And I kept hearing Jake's voice asking for truth, so I gave it.